Welcome to a audio only on top of the thumbnail review for Star Wars Resistance Season 2 Episode 4 Hunt on Celsor 3. And I'm John Berry, and before we get into that review, the entire spiel every YouTuber gives. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that stuff, support on Patreon, you know the drill. Now let's get into the video. So, the premise of this episode is that the pirates volunteer to find food on the Colossus. Food for the Colossus. But Kaz doesn't really trust them to have the station's best interests in mind, so he and Tora tag along on the hunt. And of course, there's comedy in here, there's drama, tension, really. Probably the only thing not in here is tragedy, so let's actually talk a little about the episode. So basically the episode opens where the station's residents are complaining about the lack of food, and Aunt Z is threatening to leave if food cannot be acquired late at some point, like within a day. At one point she does say, I'm leaving tonight, though that's kind of implied to be 12 hours or so later, like after the hunt. Maybe 2, 3, but some time has passed. But basically, no more than a day, we can boil it down to. And so what the pirates do, they decide to go hunt the creature from the previous episode that gave the Aces all that trouble in the episode Live File. The Jakkus. And I really do like how Star Wars Refuge opened their review. Yoda Bauer basically did a parody of Finn's line, why does everyone should go back to Jakku by instead of saying Jakku, saying Jakkus, and a few other slight changes. But yes, I'm reviewing a review of I'm getting meta here, so. But yeah, that idea, it does sound very much like Jakku. And I wonder if the writers might have done that slightly on purpose. But regardless of the reasons, the pirates go, and they don't listen to any of Kaz's or Tora's advice on this. They essentially just want to show one up on Captain Doza and ensure that they can undermine his authority. And then, of course, the only pirate being sensible in all this is Sonara, who's like, hey, you should listen to Kaz. The Captain Kragan does not listen to her. And really only listens to her when she tells him, hey, retreat now or you won't have a ship to be a captain of and you won't be a captain anymore. Basically appealing to his ego. And then Kragan goes on to blame the Aces, specifically Kaz and Tora, for interfering, though he blames more Captain Doza for that. But he makes up that claim when it was just him and his pirates not listening to any advice. And if Kaz and Tora had interfered, the pirates wouldn't have come back at all. And so that's kind of the first half of the episode, really just setting it up as setting lots of stuff up. That the pirates are wanting to undermine the authority of Captain Doza, and that the Colossus is getting close to the breaking point. And also, Kragan underestimated the size of the Jakkus. Anyhow, so Tam, I'm doing, I've been saying that a lot. I'm even just thinking about it in my head before the review, saying Tam instead of Tora, or instead of Kaz, like something like that. Tam is actually mentioned in this episode, even though she doesn't appear. And actually, her mention does play into Kaz's and Tora's plan. Because Tam, before she left, was working on a heavy cannon that's very reminiscent of the mobile ones we've seen in previous animated properties. And so she was working on that. So what Kaz and Tora do, they pick up the cannon, put it on top of the fireball, and go back to Celsor 3, go to the ground so they can attack the Jakkus from the bottom. Now, doing all this is really when the comedy begins. Because Tora's pet space dog creature, I don't know, but Buggles, sneaks aboard Buggles stay quiet for so long on the trip, but that's a whole nother matter. I'm not going to get into it. But because they come up with this plan in Toa's room, and then they go and Buggles, sneaks out, and I'm like, oh no. I was expecting drama where some station residents running after Buggles looking for a meal. I can understand why they didn't go with that route, because this is a kids show, and Buggles' appearance on the ground on Celsor 3 with them provided a new motivation to kill the Jacuz for food, because the Jacuz was going after Buggles. Probably to, justify it more with kids, because who can't maybe necessarily rationalize that sometimes you have to kill in order to kill animals in order to feed yourself when you're hunting for food. That is something that not every kid will be able to grasp, and this is a kids program. By putting Buggles down on the planet's surface, or ice moon, on Celsor 3 with them, then they have a reason to actually kill the Jacuz, because the Jacuz is threatening Buggles. It also did provide some comedic moments as well, but that, as I've heard with more than in the reviews I've watched, and a bit some own interpretation after the fact adding on, is why they probably chose it. And it does make sense. It's a kids show, you got to make it so the kids can rationalize things, because they can't always rationalize everything, especially if they haven't been exposed to something previously. But in the end, the Colossus now has a bunch of meat and probably won't go hungry for a while longer. And I haven't really talked about this too much, but during the episode in the background, we really don't see it. But Niku sells and trades what little possessions he has to get the equipment needed to create a holographic projector, so that in the marketplace he could display a image of the sky, so that basically the Colossus will feel a little more like what they're used to, creature comforts in a way. So, just morale building. That's what essentially he does, and it works excellently. They get food, and now they got a nice sight to look at. They don't have to look at dull bulkheads from now on. And actually does prove one thing. You don't need windows on the spaceship, you just need holographic projectors. Actually, that's a big criticism I see people have on some Star Trek ships, all the windows. So, windows do have some good use, especially on space stations, which is what the Colossus is ultimately. It's a space station with a hyperdrive. Space stations can have windows. You often in orbit of a planet. You got ships coming and going. You actually have stuff to look at. But the idea that when you're in space in the middle of nowhere, windows don't do any good, but holographic projectors definitely do some good. But that's all I have for you today. If you have any thoughts that you would like to add, please be sure to add them in the comments. And then, of course, the whole spiel from earlier. Like, comment, share, subscribe, dislike, what else can I say? Ring the bell to be notified, support me on Patreon. The whole spiel every YouTuber gives, because they want their content shared. And I wouldn't mind it myself, but, it gets kind of old when you repeat it over and over again. But that's it. So, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the Force be with you, always.